Hi, in this video we're going to talk about the three symbiotic relationships. Let's get started. So what is symbiosis? Symbiosis is how two organisms of different species interact. And as we go through the three different types and their examples, this will make a lot more sense. So for our first symbiotic relationship, we have mutualism. In mutualism, the interaction is, well, mutual. Both organisms are benefiting. An example of mutualism is, let's say you have a crocodile over here and it opens up its jaw, its mouth, exposing its teeth here. And you have a bird that comes and flies in and starts eating away at the food crumbs between the teeth of the crocodile. So this is an example of mutualism because both organisms are benefiting. The bird here benefits by getting a free meal, and the crocodile benefits by getting a free teeth cleaning, if you will. The next type of relationship we have is commensalism. In commensalism, one organism benefits while the other is not harmed and they don't benefit. So an example of commensalism is, let's say you have a tree over here and you have a bird that builds its nest on the tree, on a tree branch. This is an example of commensalism because the bird benefits by getting protection from predators by having its nest so high up in the tree, while the tree itself doesn't really benefit and it's not really harmed in the process. So in commensalism, the benefit typically tends to be food, protection, and transportation. While the other organism isn't harmed or does not benefit. And moving on to our last symbiotic relationship, it is parasitism. And that is when one organism benefits while the other is harmed. So, an example of parasitism is when you have, let's say, a dog and fleas get on the dog, feeding off its blood. So, in this case, the fleas benefit by absorbing nutrient rich blood from the dog, while the dog is harmed by potentially getting a disease from the fleas. On top of that, too, they're having their nutrients in their blood um, absorbed, which is going to make them weaker, not stronger. Before wrapping up this video, I just want us to do a few more examples just for practice. So, what is the relationship between you being a human and, let's say, a dog? So, of these three relationships, the interaction here would be mutualism, because the dog here benefits by getting shelter, food, and medicine from you. And you benefit by getting, let's say, security from the dog, you get companionship from the dog, and you might even get a good workout, taking the dog out for walks, that sort of thing. For the next problem here, we have you being a human and a mosquito. This here would be an example of parasitism. Our next problem here is the relationship between you, a human, and a mosquito. That would be an example of parasitism. So this is an example of parasitism because the mosquito benefits by feeding off your blood, they're getting food, they're getting nutrition, while you're being harmed by, let's say, getting malaria from that mosquito. And lastly, we have a goby fish that lives on a coral. This is an example of commensalism because the goby fish benefits by getting protection from the coral. The goby fish camouflages with the color of the coral reef and it gets protection from predators, while the coral reef isn't damaged, is not harmed, isn't benefited in any way. So just to quickly recap, symbiosis is how two organisms of two different species interact. with one another. There's three types of symbiotic relationships. We have mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. With mutualism, both organisms benefit. In commensalism, one organism benefits by getting, let's say, free food, free protection, free transportation, while the other organism is not harmed and they do not benefit. And lastly, we have parasitism, where one organism benefits while the other is harmed. That's it for this video. I hope this video helps. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.